Hello, and thanks for joining us on the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Gen Con and the gaming capital of the world, this is The Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Established Facts. We have a very special interview lined up for you today. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves, starting with my left.
This is Big Don.
It's Josh.
This is Dr. Deb.
This is Anton.
And we are joined by Bob Salvatore. Bob,
hello, guys and gal.
First of all, thank you for being on the show. It's a great honor for us to have you.
Well, I missed you at Gen Con, so had to catch up, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. We'll just take a few seconds. God knows there's people that might not know who you are, and just kind of give us the highlights and rundowns of exactly who you are.
Well, I'm a fantasy writer. I've been writing novels for a quarter of a century now. I've got about 50 books out there, including more than 30 set in the Forgotten Realms setting. And they're about barking dogs and stuff.
Yeah. Great start.
Oh, I've got a dog sitting on my arm as I'm talking, so I understand. I love that stuff. I've also done a couple of Star Wars books. I'm the bastard who killed Chewie, as I'm reminded constantly around the country. I did the Attack of the Clones book, the novelization of the movie as well. And I've created several worlds of my own, most notably Demon Wars, where I've got 11 books set, and the World of Amalur for 38 Studios, which I guess went supernova or something. But anyway, so I've been writing in the industry for a long, long time.
Awesome. So we just have some very generic kind of questions that we're going to be fielding you, but most of all, we just want to give you an opportunity to come on our show and just kind of tell us, what's new, what are you doing? With being as an experienced writer as you are, you're probably always writing something down, and you probably your mind's always turning on something, and it's a neat honor to be able to kind of pick that brain as we're sitting here for the next half hour with you, and just kind of see where. Through your writing, you're going to take the world of gaming and how we're going to experience that. So, Donald, why don't you break the ice with our little question here.
Okay, well, without going too fanboy or anything, first of all, I myself personally would like to thank you, Bob, for being on our show. I am a huge fan. I am in the middle of the book Siege of Darkness. So I've been reading. I was a late bloomer when it came to reading your books, but my brother has read all of them, and he keeps egging me on to continue on. So it's kind of addicting, and I keep telling my wife. She keeps trying to deviate me from reading those books because there's other books that are really good coming out, and I'm telling her that it's it's like a marriage. I can't cheat on one book to deviate to another one. So, so I want to thank you personally for being on the show. But I know you get this question probably more than almost any other question, at least that I've seen in interviews and heard in interviews. So I think I know what your answer is going to be, but if you could just humor us, we would like the proper pronunciation. Is it Loth or Loth?
Oh, that one I can. That one I can actually do. I say Loth.
Okay.
I don't care what Wizard says. And they probably say it differently. I mean, I say drow and they say dro.
Yeah.
So Wizard started that.
Okay.
We have an active argument going with a couple of our listeners of drow or dro, and we are all drow people here, but
Yeah, we're...
All right, so now that the ice has been sufficiently broken, first of all, can you tell us a little bit about, right now you're in the midst of writing through and I believe you said on one of your previous interviews that you've actually finished the 4th book, but you're in the middle of writing a new saga for Drist and some really fresh and new characters. And so could you give us kind of a look into the Neverwinter saga?
Yeah, basically, after the Transitions books, which were really painful, for the first time I had Dritz alone or near alone at that point, and quite upset with the world. And I wanted to see what was going to happen when I put him with people who weren't like him. Because if you look at the companions of the Hall, the people who have surrounded him for most of the books, they're all very similar to him in their moral code. You know, they'd take an arrow for him. And now all of a sudden, after the first book in Neverwinter, I've got Dritz in a position where he's finding himself surrounded by people who not only wouldn't take the arrow that was aimed for him, but they'd pull him in front of them to catch the arrow that was aimed for them.
Nice.
And so the question became, as he falls in with the bad crowd, do they drag him down or does he lift them up? And that was really the exploration of this saga. The reason it became Neverwinter was because a couple of years ago, Wizards of the Coast called me up and asked me, hey, for your next series, are you going to be anywhere near Neverwinter? And I looked at the map, and I'm like, yeah, because I usually am anyway. It's near Luskin, and I'm always on the Sword Coast. And so I said, sure, I'll be in that region. And they said, well, we got a new computer game coming out, and we've got some things we need to do to the city. And do you think you can do it in the books? And principally, they said, do you think you can blow it up? And I was psyched. I said, yeah, absolutely. So the emotional story that I was going to tell didn't change, but the dressing on it changed a lot with the whole addition of Neverwinter and the conflict going on in Neverwinter Wood, and just setting that whole region up for what it was supposed to look like for when they start the game, whenever that comes out. I think it'll be probably early next year. I haven't really heard.
I want to say that's right. I want to say 2013 is it's Neverwinter 3, right? Or is it 2?
Neverwinter 3, yeah.
Well, if it's coming off of the Neverwinter Nights series, it'll be Neverwinter 3.
Okay, because I know there's another Neverwinter Nights game being developed,
which is I love the Neverwinter Nights series.
So it was great when we were going along with the books because I had to do certain things to the region, which were a lot of fun. But there also, when I'm writing books, and there's a fairly large cast of secondary characters on the bad guys, because there are a lot of different bad guys sides going on. There's a lot of conflict in the region, and so I had characters that I liked a lot that I could kill or could kill alive, leave alive. It didn't really matter to the story I was telling. So I would get in touch with Cryptic through Wizards of the Coast and say, hey, look, here's this character, and send them a description of the character and what was going on with him or her, and say, I can kill this, get this character out of the way, or I can leave him there if you want to use him in the game. What do you think? And they'd be like, oh, that'll be great for these dungeons. Leave that character. So, somebody got spared the scimitar blade.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really a great collaborative story because I was going so far ahead of them in terms of their what they were doing for the specifics of their content, that they could riff off what I was doing as they were developing the game. It worked out really well. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be a really cool.
And I got to finally blow up a city in the realms.
There you go. There you go.
Something all characters and players want to do at least once in their role-playing game experience.
2 of us have done it.
I know.
As a matter of fact.
That?
What, Tony?
What'd you say, Tony?
I said, Bob, how long have you been wanting to do that?
Let me see. I came into the realms in 1987, so 1987. And it's because I love the place. I mean, you have to understand that when I blow something up, there's wistful nostalgia to it.
Well, and it creates I would think it would create for a whole new set of experiences by, people around and things like that.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand, I've pretty much made my career hiding in different corners of the realms. Because I'm 3,000 miles away from Wizards. So right. I don't know what they're doing in terms of, their game, what games they've got coming here. The communication isn't always great because there are so many fingers in the pie. So what I do is I find a little strip on the map and I turn that into 10 towns. Nobody else is up there. Or I go underground and create Menzoberranzan. Nobody else is down there at the time. And that's how I work it. So I've pretty much built my career hiding from people.
Okay.
But now Wizards is trying to draw me front and center, and with all the changes that's going on with 5th edition coming out and the Sundering that was announced at Gen Con, I'm happy to be there. So.
All right.
On a side tangent, didn't YouTube blow up into Branson?
No.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was not. It was a different city. I don't remember where it was, but
Chednasad.
Maybe.
And I didn't do it. Rich Baker did. I just edited the book. He got the pleasure of doing it.
We actually...
Michael and I, Mike the host and I, this is how much we actually appreciate a lot of the things that you have set down. The first game that Michael and I played together for an extended amount of time, we played... Michael and I went to high school together, but we played Brothers, and we were Drow brothers, both sorcerers that had escaped from the Underdark and had run into our friend John's character Dalfor, and he basically shepherded us through the surface world because we had no idea where we were going. And but there was a point in this. We played this game that we played these characters for 6 years, and there was a point in our storyline where we were in a city and we were trying to get information from the governor of this city, or from the mayor of this city, and he was
less than helpful.
Yeah, and so we destroyed the city around him.
I melted the city around him
as we levitated above the city with him, so he could see his city falling before him, and then he finally gave us the information we needed. So it all worked out in the end. But so other than Neverwinter and the games, obviously, that Wizards is coming out with that are associated with it, what other projects are you working on?
Well, we've got brand new release of a compilation called The Stone of Tamora. And those are the 3 books I wrote with my son, Gino. And it's kind of a side story that parallels Dritz's adventures through the Halfling's Gem through the Legacy. And that time frame. And the first book in particular really goes alongside the Halfling's Gem. It's like the Halfling's Gem from a different perspective. And one of the things that was great about that is how well all the plot points that we needed for the Stowaway, that was the first book, fit in with the bigger events that were going on in the Halfling's Gem. So I got to rewrite some of my favorite scenes from that book from a different perspective. I'm thinking of a dwarf on a flaming chariot attacking a pirate ship.
Yeah.
I got to write that from a different perspective, and it was awesome. And what was really, as I look back on it, what really struck me about that whole experience is this character of Maimon and Joan. Those are the 2 main characters in the Stone of Tamora books. Their story was kind of alongside Dritz and alongside Captain Dudermont of the Sea Sprite. And what it reminded me is that when I write the Dritz books, I'm writing about big fish in a small pond, but really small fish in a big pond. Because when I'm writing these books, there are other stories that are going on right around them that I'm not writing about, but I have to be aware of. So while Dritz, Caddy, Bree, and Bruner are chasing Entreri to try to free Regis, when they're on the boats and Bruner's on his chariot and all of that, and they're chasing and they're fighting pirates and all of that, there are other stories going on within the pirates. The pirate ships, and within the coastal cities around it, and the other merchant ships in the area. And when you keep that in mind when you're writing, it makes it easier to take these minor characters that'll just show up for a little bit in your book here or there. Characters you may never see again, but make them real people. It reminds you that the events that are going on that are affecting your main characters are also affecting everybody else around it. So it's a great exercise, and I'm really glad we did it. Love the books. So So that's coming out, or it just came out, actually. The Stone of Tomorrow. It's got all 3 of the books in one. And the other thing that I'm working on now are comic books. We did the Neverwinter Tales comic books. Gino and I wrote them. It's a 5-comic series, came out in the graphic novel format from IDW. And we really like doing it, so now we're writing another series for IDW. But everything I'm working on right now is Forgotten Realms. I threw myself into it wholeheartedly because of 5th edition, because of the big changes coming up in the world, and because after 38 Studios kind of burned and crashed and burned, this was the safe place for me to go. It's kind of like going home and visiting family again for a while.
Right.
So for the next couple of years, I am in the realms only.
So, over the last, like you said, quarter century, so the last 25 years, you have been unfolding this story of Drizzt and all of his companions. So what I would really like to know, and what I hope everybody else who's listening to this would like to know, is for someone who might be a GM or a player, there are times when the story that you're playing or the story that you're trying to tell starts to get a little stale, and so you have to throw in a couple things here and there to keep things alive. How do you do that as a writer, writing about the same characters? How do you do that about those same characters over 25 years without really losing that interest or just saying, I think this is Drizzt's last adventure or something like that?
Yeah, well, first of all, when I came back to Wizards of the Coast after they bought TSR, I hadn't been working for TSR anymore. I was doing things with Del Rey at the time. I came back on condition that I could write side stories like Sellswords, where I just have Jarlaxle and Triri as the main characters. That was part of it, to give me breaks from the group as we go along. But really, the way this has evolved is, if you ever watched the old Cosmos series that Carl Sagan did on PBS, and it's kind of like Sagan's examination of the human race and science. And Sagan called that his spiritual journey. And it occurred to me when I was putting together the short stories for the anthology that came out last year, that what I'm doing here is my spiritual journey. The characters in my books are my sounding board. So when I have questions or problems or just trying an outlook on life that I'm trying to make clear, I just hit my characters with it and see what the answers they come up with, right and wrong. You see? And so really what I'm doing is I'm just following this group of characters that changes, as we've seen in the more recent books, following them down the road of adventure and seeing what they cook up around the next bend. And it's been an incredible journey. I don't know when it will end, but you have to understand, like I said, that when I say Drizzt books, I mean all the Forgotten Realms books I'm writing, whether it's the Cleric Quintet, the Sellswords, the Stone of Tomorrow, or the core Legend of Drizzt books. And even if the character doesn't make it out of a book, which is entirely possible, Drizzt gets killed and goes away, I'll keep writing Forgotten Realms books following that book with whoever is left, if anybody is. And that's just the way I look at it. I'm walking the road of adventure, and whatever happens, happens. That's what makes it fun for me.
That is so awesome.
I really want to thank you for saying that and discussing that aspect, because my brother has written a certain story for a very long time, and he's probably listening and smiling right now, and he does something very similar. He does kind of a spiritual exploration of himself, and he expresses some very difficult and some very dark emotions through his characters, and then he expresses some of the highest ideals that you could have through his characters, and it's really an exploration. And he struggled sometimes with that, because sometimes as this light and dark struggle through this story, and he's wondered, is this the right thing? Is this healthy to do it this way? So to hear you explain that your writing is a spiritual journey for you is really encouraging to me. So I'm going to insist that he listen to this podcast and hear you say it, because I think that will give a lot of credence to what he is doing. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example of that. Whenever somebody asks me, what's your favorite book, my answer is always the same. It's Mortalis. Mortalis is the 4th book of the 7-book Demon Wars saga. Mm-hmm. And I wrote that book I didn't even know it was going to be part of the series. I realized I needed a bridge book between the two trilogies. That became Mortalis. I wrote that book while I was watching my best friend, my brother Gary, die of cancer. Literally.
Oh, wow.
And when I finished the book, I sent it to my editor and I said, Veronica, this is either really good or incredibly self-indulgent, and I don't know which. I'm too close to it.
Right.
And she called me up 2 weeks later and she was crying and she says, and I didn't know whether that was a good sign or a really bad sign.
Right.
And she said, don't change a word of this book. And that was my edit.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
And that book got me through that experience.
Yes.
That book was my catharsis, my way of dealing with grief, of coming to terms with something that didn't make any sense to me. And that's what you do as a writer. That's who you are as a writer. You write for yourself most of all. You write to find out what the heck it's all about in your heart and soul. And that's why I do it. That's why I've been doing it for 25 years. That's why I'll be doing it until they put me in the ground.
There you go.
And it's not just Drizzt. Any of the books I write, that's the way I approach it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm gonna change gears just a little bit because I know we don't have a whole lot of time left. But I was reading on your rasalvatore.com, your website. You have a biography on there, and I was interested to know a little bit about you. And I noticed that you coach softball. Is that right?
I play.
You play softball. Okay. Wow. So you are active, you like sports and things like that. Would you say that you are a football, baseball, or basketball guy? More than any of the others?
To play or watch?
To watch.
On TV, football. In person, baseball.
Okay.
And in the playoffs, basketball.
There you go. So a little bit of all, depending on the situation.
Well, you forgot hockey. I'm a Bruins fan.
Oh, okay. Well, see, we don't.
They better get back on the ice. So.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I'm a jock as much as a nerd. I'm kind of that weird mix.
Cool.
My favorite sport to play was hockey and basketball. I love them both, but I can't because of my knee. I have no ACL in my left leg. I just can't do sports like that anymore. And I'm in my 50s,
definitely hinder
so
you.
football's not going to work for someone in their 50s.
Right.
But, my softball team has 6 of my family members on it.
Oh, there you go.
And we have a blast. And we just won the championship the other day, actually.
Congratulations.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
under
awesome.
the name 38 Studios, so I got to get that off the jacket somehow.
There you go.
But, it's great. I still love playing. I can still compete at a high enough level to enjoy the game.
There you go. Well, the last question that I'm going to ask is a very important question to, I think, most of us on the panel. It has to do with the current NFL standings. And right now, we are here in Indianapolis, so pretty much
Don't hold that against us, please.
No. And this, I just want to say, I feel like this might be the first real olive branch extended to the New England area for this specific subject. So, if I can say so, that's what I'm going to say. But the Indianapolis Colts, the New England Patriots, and the Denver Broncos, which I like the Denver Broncos before they got Peyton, and now I like them even more. They are all 1-2. Mm-hmm. So, come January, when the postseason starts, who do you feel like will have, at the most objective opinion you can have, the better record between those
three teams? You think that's even a tough question?
No, exactly. It's...
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal in the AFC this year, and you can take it to the bank. I know the Patriots lost to the Ravens the other night. Mm-hmm. I was very surprised at how weak Baltimore looked to me. I thought Baltimore was going to be the team in the AFC this year. They can't generate a pass rush with 4 people.
Right.
So unless Terrell Suggs comes back really healthy and freaking out, I don't think Baltimore is the cream of the crop. I think they're in the top 3. Top 3 teams in the AFC this year are going to be Houston, New England, and Baltimore.
Okay.
I don't care what the record says. New England has lost to 2 pretty good teams, and the loss to Baltimore, I got to tell you, the score of that game is almost irrelevant to the game itself because I don't think either team knew what the hell they were doing out there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that as a put down of the teams, but they didn't know what was going to be pass interference. There was one play where the Patriots wide receiver went out, looked the Baltimore defender right in the eye, and threw him to the side, broke out and caught a pass, and they didn't call it.
Yeah.
So it was more a game of what can we get away with.
Yeah, we had several.
Michael Orr, I think, could have got hit with 20 holding penalties in the second half because he was getting away with it.
Yeah, we had several.
I'm not even worried about the standings right now. The best team in the AFC, if it's not New England or Baltimore, is Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I think Denver wins the West. Maybe, but Manning isn't Manning. It breaks my heart, too, because he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. Yeah. And I like Tom Brady, but Manning's the best quarterback I've ever seen. But he hasn't got the speed. His arm speed is down.
Yeah, that was what my dad and I were discussing. His speed is just not what it was, say, 5-6 years ago. Even just a couple of years ago, really. But
so my expectation, and the Patriots division is terrible. I mean, Darrelle Revis gone, the Jets don't even have that.
Yeah.
And then I have
Buffalo,
a team
maybe, I don't know, but I don't think they're ready. They're almost there, though. They're building a heck of a team up in Buffalo. Miami's totally rebuilding. So New England's got an easy division. They'll win their division. Okay. The AFC Championship game will be New England-Houston, New England-Baltimore, or Houston-Baltimore.
Okay. All right.
See,
all right.
The great thing about our podcast is we always claim we're all things gaming, and I don't care what anybody else says. Sports is gaming.
That is a game.
Well, I mean, Madden is a game.
Red Sox.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
It's been a painful year, but I was there the other night.
There you go.
I was there last night for the last home game.
You and Stephen King.
I do believe the Red Sox just played the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just got swept by the Rays again.
I happen to have just moved to Tampa, so.
Well, you should never have trouble getting seats to that stadium.
The Buccaneers are on a solid blackout for the rest of the season because they can never fill those stadiums.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. At least we got real refs back. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous.
Ugh. Well, we had. I mean, Bob, you were talking about a couple bad calls when it came to the Patriots game. We had. I think I am a subjective Colts fan. I have to say that. But there were several calls on both sides of the ball, but a couple pass interferences in the third quarter that kind of Jacksonville kind of got away with, and the ref was standing right there, and of course the big debacle with the Packers Seahawks game. Good Lord. So I don't know.
I think every fan of every team in the league, even teams that are 3-0, will tell you that there are calls that are just inexplicable.
Yeah.
And that's where look, there's always going to be blown calls in every sport. Refs are human. But it's clear that in the case of what happened in the NFL for the first 3 weeks, they took a bunch of guys who were never used to being in a stadium with 60,000 screaming fans, knowing they're on TV, where there's hundreds of millions of dollars bet on. I think the Packers, that last catch in the Packers game I read swung between $150 and $200 million worth of bets.
Good Lord.
Think about that. You're putting these people who are totally unprepared for that situation into that situation. I got to tell you something. I've given commencements at colleges, okay? You have to build up to even being able to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I watch political candidates and I watch them give speeches or I watch them in debates and people go, oh, they were awful. And it's like, you go do it and try it. Get up in front of a crowd and try it. It's an entirely, or you watch game show contestants blow easy questions that you can answer from home. Go on the show and try it. It's a different story.
Yes.
And, these guys, I don't think they did anything wrong. They were over their heads. It was that simple.
Yeah.
And, every team, and it's not only the penalties you see that are obvious and change the game, like that last call in Green Bay, or the holding call on Devin McCourty in the Patriots game that took Baltimore from a 3rd and 16 at their 14-yard line to a first down.
Yeah.
Or the pass interference that stopped the Patriots from on offensive pass interference that nobody in the world saw, including the announcers, because it was ridiculous, that stopped the Patriots from having 1st and 10 on the 11. You can look at the big plays that are blown and go, oh, my God, they cost us the game. But really, it's all the little plays that I was talking about earlier in between. If an offensive lineman gets away with holding, he's going to keep holding.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
After the Buffalo Bills got crushed by the Jets Mario Williams started screaming that every play he had a hand in his face. And I thought, oh, he's whining. Because his first game, whatever. I went and looked at some of that game on the replay. Every play, he had a hand on his face.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. So,
well,
you can't play football on quicksand. You
right.
just can't.
It's the Established Facts Sports Center.
That's
what
right.
just happened.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, with that, I mean, does anybody else? Bob, do you have any last plugs that you'd like to let our listeners know about?
Well, yeah, I was. I learned something. I'll share with you. I learned something huge this year. That it was another epiphany. I'm having a lot of those. I must be getting very old. But, I went to Dragon Con in Atlanta, and I hadn't been there in about 15 years. And it is huge. It is amazing. What a great convention. I can't say enough good things about it. And the amazing thing is that probably every other person was dressed in costume. It was incredible.
Very cool.
But they had a parade. And I was in the parade. Stan Lee was in the parade. Lou Ferrigno was in the parade. Along with 3,497 other people. There were 3,500 people marching in this parade. And I was in the back, sitting in the back of a Mustang that was driving the car, not a horse. And behind me, I had a dozen dark elves, the darkened facade.
Oh, very cool.
And it was amazing. And there were 100 stormtroopers, had to be the 507th,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
100 stormtroopers finishing up the parade. It was just an incredible experience. There were tens of thousands of people lining the streets of Atlanta to watch the parade. Tens of thousands. It's the biggest parade in Atlanta. And anyway, at Dragon Con, this is where I learned a lot about Drizzt. I had been thinking for a while that what the best thing going about these books, at this one of the biggest things going for them, is the fact that when people open up a Drizzt book, they get teleported back in time to when they were playing D&D in high school and read their first Drizzt book. It's almost like a nostalgic lifeline to a simpler past before computer games took over the world for a lot of people. And the people I met in Atlanta, the hundreds and hundreds of people I met at the signings and the seminars, I don't think any two of them were on the same Drizzt book. Like you said, you were reading Siege of Darkness.
Yes.
Other people were devouring the brand new book that had just come out.
Yeah.
Other people were 3 books back. Some people were just starting.
Yeah.
That would be me.
Homeland. Other people had read to a point but hadn't read a book in a long time, a Drizzt book in a long time. Just because the situation in their life had changed. Mm-hmm. And so I guess it just gave me a scope of how much these books, it kind of overwhelmed me, of how much these books have kind of come into the collective consciousness of the fantasy genre. And I was reading something the other day on, what game was it? I don't know, I was logging on to an MMO or just checking out an MMO. And it said, one of the guidelines for character names was you can't use, well-established names in the genre like Bilbo, Merlin, or Drizzt. And I was like, oh my God, how did this happen?
He just got lined up with Bilbo and
It just
Merlin.
blew me away when I finally realized that, you can't just look at the new book and how it's doing to figure out how many people are into this Drizzt thing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a bizarre and humbling and overwhelming and frightening and confusing revelation to me. It's pretty cool, too, so I'll take it.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Bob, we would like to thank you again for coming on the Established Facts and hanging out with us for a while. That's all.
I guess we just leave that as a thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with the rest of our discussion.
It was my pleasure, guys and gal, and I will see you at Gen Con next year,
All
yes?
right. We will be there.
Yes, you
we will
will
be there.
Well, I should be there, too. This year I missed it.
Just so you know, Bob, Michael, the host, and I, every year on Saturday, we dress in our Dark Elf costume.
Yes, it is a tradition.
Oh, no kidding. That's awesome.
We will come and see. Actually, as a matter of fact, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago that you and I had a picture taken at Scotty's Brew House when you had there was a Forgotten Realms party going on.
Yes.
So yeah.
Very cool.
I miss Scotty's this year too.
Yeah. That's all right.
The
We'll
real
be there
world
next year.
intervenes sometime. Dang it.
There's always
All
next
right,
year.
well, I will catch up with you guys, well, maybe in March when the next book comes out, but certainly at Gen Con for the book after that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you,
All
Bob.
right.
very much.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye-bye now.
Man, that was a good interview. What is that noise? Don, do you hear that?
What?
What? You're not even paying attention. Don, what are you doing?
I'm writing a postcard.
You're writing a postcard? For what?
You know, postcards from the dungeon.
You're not going to submit that, are you?
What? I mean, nobody can beat it. Check it out. Look at this. Zell, you always said one day I'd get caught. Well, it wouldn't have happened had I not taken Nightwind. Your suggestion to be accompanied by a backstabbing trickster drow bard was a horrible idea. Well, the executioner's on his way, so I need to finish filing this bar before he arrives. P.S. Don't tell Nightwind I took his whip. Robin. Eh?
Well, Don, I mean, it is really good. However, if you go to the establishedfacts.com, at the top there's a link that says contest rules, and you are clearly not eligible to submit to postcards from a dungeon.
Wait, we have a website?
We do. With contest rules.
Guys, you know we have a podcast to finish recording, right?
Wait, we have a podcast?
Yes, Don. We have a podcast. It's at www.theestablishedfacts.com.
Oh.
Well, right on. I guess we'll just file that away. So, Don, why don't you give us a rundown on the villain madness that's coming up?
Villainy madness tournament. Sorry, that was a little weird.
Tournament?
Tournament. Brother. Ooh, yeah. All right. So now that is over.
Oh, that just made me think of another good villain. Oh, if you'd like to know,
Who?
Vince McMahon.
Oh. I'll add him.
You can play Vince McMahon?
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely.
Where can you play Vince
Almost
McMahon?
every SmackDown versus Raw game.
Yeah.
WWE 12 and 13 now.
I guess I just would
Okay.
not pick him.
That's okay. We have, so I know we've pretty much told all of our listeners that we are going to be starting a Villainy Madness tournament, very similar to our video game Madness tournament we had in the spring. The winner of the Villainy Madness tournament, it's going to be set up just like the video game Madness, where you're going to get on and vote for who you think should win the match by whatever means you decide to vote. So the winner of the Villainy Madness will face the winner of our first video game Madness, and then from then on, we are going to be changing our video game Madness into a Heroes Madness, and then we'll have a hero and a villain tournament at the end of the year every year. So yeah, we have asked for some really good suggestions for villains, and we have a list of about 55 right now. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead, with the help of my fellow podcasters, we're going to go over this list. I'm going to read through the bad guys, and then I think we can just take a few of them and, like, if we have some favorites that we want to discuss, or if there's some shining light in the villainy department.
Shining light in a villain department.
Well, I don't know.
I think you can discuss the idea of a bright villain, like when
A diamond in the rough,
Yeah.
if you will.
when a villain's
I don't
personality is so intense, you could kind of consider this beacon.
Yeah, you know, he is the epitome of what a villain should stand for. Never wavering from. Anyway, so I'm gonna read. I'll read through the list real quick, and
How
then,
awfully heroic that villain sounds.
well, you know, there's not much difference between a hero and a villain besides their motivation.
Oh.
So.
Or how they're perceived by their surroundings.
Exactly. Some people would say Mario was a villain. Some people would say Donkey Kong was a villain. Same game. Mm-hmm. Just saying. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get through this list real quick, and then we can kind of go over some of the other villains we have, or some of the other ideas we have. So, top of the list. This is in no particular order. It was really just how I wrote them down. So here we go. Sephiroth, Bowser, Strahd, Von Zarovich, Lolth, Artemis Entreri, Lord Soth, Nemesis from the Resident Evil series, Wario, Ganondorf, Dr. Robotnik, M. Bison, Shao Kahn, Scorpion, Dracula from Castlevania, if you didn't know, GLaDOS from Portal, Magneto, Diablo, the Lich King Arthas, Donkey Kong, Akuma from Street Fighter, Shredder, Joker, the Riddler, Milton Derrick from the Pallegane series, and I believe
AEG's the world's largest
city from AEG, thank you. Pac-Man's Red Ghost, Mike, the host, Ra's al Ghul, Lex Luthor, Catwoman, Norman Osborn, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, the Dark Phoenix, the Green Power Ranger, the original Green Power Ranger, the Elusive Man, Jafar, Jack of Blades, Kurgan, Bane, the Emperor, and if you don't know who the Emperor is...
You need to go back to geek school.
Yes. Darth Vader, Voldemort, Sauron, Saruman, the Pig King from Angry Birds, Albert Wesker from the Resident Evil series, Dr. Wily from Mega Man, Red Skull, Dr. Doom, Cruella de Vil, Kefka from Final Fantasy VI, Vince McMahon, as we have just added, because you can play him in Madden, Bill Belichick, and also because he is a playable character, more so than Bill Belichick, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., also known as Tom Brady. So, that is our current list of villains. We are going to post a poll, and the top 32 villains that have a vote will move on into the actual tournament of Villainy Madness. So
your votes will also determine the bracket. Keep
correct.
that in mind. Top vote gets number 1 seed. Lowest, the number 32 gets the right side 16th seed. Or because it's kind of one of those where left and right is what it is. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6.
How many times can you vote, Josh?
From what I can tell on Facebook, because we're going to use the Facebook polling system, you can vote 1 time, and please do not vote as multiple account holders. There are a few that have been out there that I've seen happen. You are one person, put your vote in 1 time. If you want to push for a certain to collect more votes, by all means, campaign.
That's right.
But at this point, it should have been up for probably a week or so you guys have already had plenty of opportunity to do that. We are shooting for... Let me check the calendar here. This will be this episode is on October the 5th. So within 2 weeks of that, on the 19th of October, we'll be announcing our 32 seeds, which actually would be, we have until the 11th. Oh, it was the 11th when we record. Yes, Deb.
Well, I was going to point out, so everyone has to pick 1 villain out of 55 to vote for? Is that right?
As far as I could tell, that's what it is. If we can do a ranking,
we'll play with.
Because I'm just worried that we're going to have 17 with 1.
Well, by the time
24 with 1, it's going to be like, what the heck? Do we do with this mess?
By the time this episode drops,
or we're going to have 20 votes for Joker.
We will have the whole poll thing figured out, whether we can do a rank or if we maybe pair people up or something like that.
Okay.
We can probably do something like that too. So
all of you out there listening know more about it than I do at this point. So feel informed.
There you go.
And as he was saying, as Mike was saying, we're not limiting the reasoning for why you choose somebody. And evidently a lot of us believe that in the fight between Mario and Master Chief, that if it were a good old-fashioned melee knockdown drag-out type fight, that Master Chief would have stomped Mario. But we know it's a popularity poll, and honestly that makes it more interesting for us because we'll see certain upsets that the upset that shall not be named, apparently.
It will remain nameless.
Just as an example. We expect those. We want those. We're leaving it up to you guys. You guys are going to be determining the bracket, and we're just going to report on it, like our little Sports Center segment you heard earlier in the show.
Now, I have a question for all of the panel. Do you have, out of the list that was just named, do you have a favorite that you would like to see not only make the list, but also possibly make it to the finals? I mean, I know it's still early. We don't have a working list yet. But if there was one, if there was that one shining light of villainy, that one diamond in the rough that you could see going head-to-head with Mario and, matching him toe-to-toe, who would you see kind of taking those reins?
I have mine.
Okay. I
cannot stand Cruella de Vil.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, my God. That woman she's in there. I remember you saying that. But I am a big dog fan. I have 2 dogs of my own. I absolutely love dogs. And watching the movies, 101 Dalmatians, 102 Dalmatians, whatever, I was so rooting against Cruella de Vil, which to me makes her one of the ultimate villain or villainess, depending on how you want to look at it. So I would love to see her in the tournament, mainly so she gets beat.
All right.
All right, my shining enemy, I don't know how to describe it, that shining thing that just kind of sucks you in even when you don't want to get sucked in, would have to be Heath Ledger's Joker. I think Joker can make it to the end, like that truly dark, twisted, sadistic. Yeah, I think he gets sucked into him even if you don't really want to. So, Joker.
Donald, what about you?
Or you could put my dogs in that ranking
That's right.
as well.
I think Wally's in there saying Sephiroth.
Oh, is that what he's doing? Okay.
This is I think it's a really good list for just really nasty bad guys in general. It's really... you know what? I'm going to say, because I don't like to be the one who copies other people, especially when we have such a huge list, I'm going to say probably Scorpion from the Mortal Kombat series, because to me, he resembles a lot of the same personality as the Joker. He really doesn't care who he goes up against. He really just, he has no regard for anyone else's human life, but that's because he's not exactly human. So I'm gonna have to say Scorpion. So, Mike, how about you?
Well, of course, I want to see Mike the host at least
Right,
get in
absolutely.
there.
Well, yeah, I think we all do.
But I personally, I was kind of torn between 2, but I have narrowed it down. And the one that I would like to see go up against Mario is the Emperor.
Oh, there you go. Force lightning.
Merely because I think
something Mushroom Kingdom.
if the Emperor could be as persuasive as he was to turn Vader into Darth Vader, I'm pretty sure he could play on the emotions of loving the princess and turn Mario into an evil, conniving Sith.
Darth Mario.
So,
I like it.
Wow.
He already wears red.
Yeah, I was going to say, all he needs is a red lightsaber.
Yeah, an evil version of Mario would be the black overalls with a red shirt. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, it would. All right.
Yep.
So is there anything else?
I can't think of anything.
I definitely want to say how much I truly enjoyed the interview with Bob Salvatore.
Absolutely.
Hope everybody really liked that.
Definitely just thank him again for being on the show. That was a lot of fun. I was actually, to be honest, kind of looking back on it, in the very beginning, before we did like our icebreaker, which I was saying, I'm really glad we did it. But I am a huge fan of R.A. Salvatore, and I was so nervous before.
Were you scared?
Well, I wasn't necessarily scared, but it's really cool to see somebody to be able to talk to somebody who you kind of look up to and not necessarily like idolize or anything extreme like that, but someone who you really appreciate the contributions that they've made to a hobby that I've enjoyed for a large majority of my life. And being able to just kind of hang out and talk about fun stuff and talk about what he's doing and how, because of what he's doing, there are other things that are happening. And, one question I really wish I would have asked him, and I forgot to write it down and ask him, but I really wanted to find out. So this might be a question that we can ask him the next time we have him on. Mm-hmm. What he would like to see come of the stories that he has written out, other than just video games. Like if there's crossovers to, I know he's got the Drist series has graphic novels and things like that. But I'd like to see what he would think about, whether they do they could do a web series or an animated series or something like, or even nowadays with as many
Major
movies
motion
that
picture.
major motion picture or something like that. I think that would be amazing. I would fight to get in the front of that line. Like
I know, right?
Imagine like
To
a
go-
Lord of the
to
Rings
go and
quality
see.
movie
Yeah,
about the Drist story.
And if there's anybody that I could think of that could probably pull it off as a director, it would definitely be somebody like Peter Jackson.
Right, because you
But-
would need that fantasy genre
Yeah.
stylization.
I think we've had this discussion. I really think Dungeons and Dragons needs a better shot at, or just we need something. No offense to Lord of the Rings, because I absolutely love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to The Hobbit, but we need another fantasy genre movie on that scale.
But you've got to have the story to hold it. That's the thing. And R.A. Salvatore's work is definitely something that will hold you to the
I think
screen.
we should start a Kickstarter for that program.
Should too. Anybody out there?
I don't know. We need a writer. We need someone with a screenplay, because apparently the new Kickstarter rules is you've got to be able to provide at least proof that something is in the works
Okay.
for selling a product such as that. So,
But I mean, I don't know. I just think something like that would be cool.
I agree.
If we can find someone
Even
who
if
could
it,
do it, yeah.
even if it was like similar to the Guild and other web episodes and stuff like that. If you broke it down, or like the Clone Wars, they did the Clone Wars for Star Wars. They did the animated computer generated series. I mean, that would be a beautiful genre to do like the at least maybe the Dark Elf trilogy and the Icewind Dale trilogy that kind of set the roots to that story. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I think it would be really neat to and quite the challenge for Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely.
To film something that's done entirely in the Underdark.
And something that is a little bit different than the fantasy that you have seen before. I think,
Right.
I was actually talking to my wife the other day about this, and I'm starting to get a little annoyed at how quickly these authors, and I'm not saying that I'm getting annoyed at these authors coming out with these stories and then being able to turn them into movies and then being successful. The Hunger Games was amazingly successful. Twilight Saga was amazingly successful, and still, they've still got another one coming out. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. Lord of the Rings is a little bit different because Lord of the Rings is several decades old.
Right.
Before it ever even came out, before anybody had even thought about putting it into, they've made animated movies of The Hobbit and things like that, but before anybody actually took it under consideration to make a real motion picture out of it, there was a lot of time between then and when I think it came out in '99 was when the first one came out.
Yeah.
So
Now it's,
right, exactly.
13 years later.
13 years.
13 years
And they're
later.
coming out with The Hobbit.
And they're coming out with The Hobbit. Yeah.
So, but Peter Jackson has made an amazing franchise out of that, and has brought the world of fantasy to a completely new generation. And even
new
though
level,
right, and
the
absolutely.
quality that he puts out is just wonderful.
And when you have movies like the Chronicles of Narnia, and you have movies like the Lord of the Rings series and things like that come out, it just makes you wonder, when are they going to realize that there is so much untapped potential that has already been established, and kind of back off a little bit from all of these, like, right out of the gate, big pop culture punches, and I understand those sell tickets, but it's starting to get a tad bit irritating to see a book hit the shelf and 2 months later the movie comes out. And not to say that these books are bad by any means. I really enjoyed The Hunger Games, and my wife just read through the series, but I'd like to see something that has a little bit more backbone in society, like Ari Salvatore was saying. There are so many different people that are involved in the storytelling of just that series, not to mention the Demon Wars and things like that that he has done. Vector Prime, which is one of his Star Wars novels. I think that's the one where he was talking about
killing off Chewbacca.
Chewbacca died.
Yeah, believe me, my brother was still a little bitter on that one.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot bitter, but
I mean, I think that
Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss killed off a paladin.
Yeah.
Okay, like in the second book of the Dragonlance series. So
I understand. But Chewie was around for longer than a book and a half.
I know, but there's.
But I mean,
but it's true.
But you got to think. The actual storyline of Anakin Skywalker, he eventually dies.
Yes,
everybody has it's the inevitable end for somebody.
Death is the ultimate. What is that phrase? Death is the ultimate journey. Goodness gracious, what does Gandalf say?
Death is just another part of life, one that we all must take.
Is that what it was?
That was his line. If you're looking for the line from the movie, or do you want the line from the book?
The line from the book.
Identical.
They were not identical.
It's very close. It's basically that death is another aspect of the journey that we have to take, and it's not to be feared, but it's to be looked forward to as a continuation of the adventure here on Earth is the idea behind it. Now you're going to make me look up the book and find the
So
book.
it's just as important. It really is. It's just as important to the story. I mean, I think thanks to Derek, I think I have had 3 or 4 characters that have been developed over a year die. And then I've had a character that Danielle and the Freelands die twice. So it's kind of...
once wasn't enough.
Right. So it's just part of the story. It's how it works.
Absolutely.
But I agree. I think Hollywood needs to realize that there's some stuff out there that they don't know about because they're not geeks. But if they really want to tap into some jewels that they don't know about, some of the stuff that Tracy Hickman or Margaret Weiss and, of course, R.I. Salvatore has written is classic to us, those of us who love fantasy. And if they actually came out with it, because they can write a good story. That's the thing. Is sometimes I don't always feel like these stories are really developed. They're a little half-baked.
We need a screenplay. And that's the thing that I think I'm not a screenwriter myself, but the books are there. Hollywood, write the screenplay and include Bob Salvatore.
Oh yeah.
Keep it I got to say that because they're releasing a D&D movie about the Book of Vile Darkness without Monty Cook, and I still can't believe that.
Yeah, it's going to no offense, I think it's going to flop like a pancake.
Yeah,
like
but
the other two?
At this point the other two were almost comedic. So
right, but that's the whole point. It's like if you really play the Book of Vile Darkness,
it's sad when you can watch. And I'm not downplaying or trying to be offensive in any way because I really enjoyed these movies. But Darkness Rising was just as good as at least the second, if not the first, Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Well, I'm on that same note. Zombie Orpheus and Dead Gentleman. Journey Quest, if you haven't seen it, similar type of thing, very entertaining. Gamers 3, Hands of Fate, that's been kickstarted, and a whole bunch of that's recorded. They're getting ready to record the LARP section of it in Seattle. Those are only happening because people are crowdfunding it.
Right.
That's why I think that there needs to be, if we can write letters to our congressmen, should we be able to write letters to our producers in Hollywood?
spend as much money.
Tell them what we actually want to watch.
Yeah.
Instead of just having stuff.
Not Jennifer's Body.
Not what?
Yeah, that's
the movie.
that's
Jennifer's
horrible.
Body.
Not
the
exactly.
fact they spent money to actually make that thing.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Megan Fox attempting to act again.
Right. It's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. That's what you get for taking off Transformers director.
Yeah.
That's right. We won't go there.
Oh, Mike, do you want the show back now?
Hey, I'm completely okay with letting you guys freewheel this.
We're going to put him back in charge of this train.
I just say one statement, and you just guys take off into left field.
That's right.
That's right.
So, I I guess we should wrap up the show. I mean, we've
Well, pretty much.
it's been pretty eventful.
Yeah.
Last episode, we established that vampire is a great way to cut your LARPer teeth, and that was a great show with John Givens. Today, I would like to establish an established fact that is near and dear to my heart, and probably all of us here in the Indianapolis area. But through the acts of gaming and gaming alone, is the bridge of peace being extended into the New England territory.
There you go.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again, Bob.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salvatore.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus